Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jam, Suwaib.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
On Monday, first day of the week, the 30th of June, last day of the month, this is Coffee Time on West Coast Radio. I am Peter Gomez. But as we've just been hearing in the newspaper roundup, the Gambia is set to begin the construction of the first deep seaport infrastructure project. And I am joined in the studio now by none other than Mr. Ousman Jobateh, no stranger to this program, although he hasn't been on for quite a while. Jobs, welcome back to Coffee Time.
Thank you, and good morning, Uncle Peter, and good morning to your viewers and listeners, wherever they may be.
You're looking fresh. Have you been to Mecca this year?
Well, not actually. Thank you for that.
Are you ready for Mecca yet?
Well, yes, I'm ready.
Okay. And Jobs is not alone. He's not alone. He's joined by, well, he can introduce himself, can't he?
Hi, good morning, listeners. Good morning, viewers. Uncle Peter, good morning. I'm Jibo Msedi, Communications Officer.
Jibo, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Jobs, okay. You are now what, at the final stages of the planning? What has been done ahead of the big day, and when is the big day?
Well, we're planning to do the official foundation stone laying for the construction of the new deep seaport in Sanyang on Saturday, the 5th of July, 2025. That's in a week's time. What has been done so far is to engage the community in Sanyang with a view to identifying the land issue that the support infrastructure was supposed to be built. And during this period, that's what we've been able to resolve, and thankfully, the solution has been found.
Okay, so who's going to lay the foundation stone?
His Excellency the President, Adam Obaro, will officially grace the occasion and do the foundation stone laying.
Fantastic. So he's going to get into the water and go deep down and lay the foundation stone there, is it?
Well, actually, we've identified a spot along the beach near where the port is.
Oh no, what a shame. He's not going into the water?
No, those are not the plans. So we plan to just have the emblem sort of placed on the beach, on the shore, near where the construction will actually take place.
Fantastic. So tell me more, Jibo, about the ceremony that you're planning for on Saturday.
Thank you, Uncle Peter. Just like MD Jobateh said, the National Organizing Committee is set up under the Ministry of Works. We have also put up the subcommittee that has to do with the media and publicity to ensure that this message goes across to everyone in the Gambia, noting very well that the deep sea port is, of course, a game changer in global shipping in this country, and laying of the foundation stone is a significant milestone in the history of this port and maritime industry. So therefore, we want every Gambian to come, leaving no stone unturned, noting very well that this occasion will be graced and the foundations will be laid by the President himself. So it's a state function, and we're doing all we could at the media level and publicity to ensure that the message goes across, and at the level of the Sanyang as well, we are engaging the VDC as well to ensure that this message goes across to all the village and neighbors in the community.
He calls it game changer, Jobs, apart from the fact that, President is involved and therefore everybody else would like to be involved and be seen to be involved. How important is this deep sea port project? How will it change my life as a Gambian?
Well, one thing is certain, that is the biggest foreign direct investment in the country ever. And the development of the port infrastructure will really bring the cost of doing business lower in the Gambia, which has been the challenge. Because Banjul is constrained in the sense that the sizes of vessels that can call the port are restricted because of the draft in the access channel, which is about 9.3 meters. Now, Gambia gets to be serviced by feeder vessels on a direct call, so, where containers are assembled at the Mediterranean ports, either in Algeciras or in the south of Spain. They get transported to Banjul by direct feeder vessels, because the vessels that come to West Africa do a port-to-port call. These are vessels we call West Africa Max vessels, and they have drafts of about 12 meters. But because of their size, they carry more volume, and the unit cost in terms of freight is cheaper. That's the main constraint that this deep sea port would address, in the sense that those big vessels that are calling other West African ports will now be able to call at the port in Sanyang because of the increased water depth.
Is one of those vessels the 53,000 metric ton cement carrier that recently came, and what's his name, Hamidou, Jah Oil had to buy a new vessel and two smaller vessel to go, outstream and get the cement in?
Yes, actually, this vessel, the 53,000 metric tons of cement, was loaded beyond the draft that she can access, navigate the channel to come to Banjul. Thus the reason Hamidou, because of the economy of scale that he would benefit by bringing larger volumes, was obliged to procure a smaller coastal vessel. The sense that the smaller coastal vessel will go in the channel and offload some of the cargo from this mother ship, bring it to port, so that by the time this feeder vessel does about 3 or 5 runs, she would have removed up to about 12 to 16,000 tons, and then the vessel would be float to the level that it can cross the channel and come into Banjul. So that was the arrangement. But this is the main restriction in Banjul, as I said earlier. Those deep draft vessels cannot navigate the channel because there's a big sandbar somewhere in between Boys Numbers 2 off the coast of Cape Point. That is like a mountain under the seabed that would really restrict the size of vessels that can cross the channel.
Can't that be dredged away?
Well, the economic benefits of dredging has to be weighed against the construction of an elaborate facility. That's not the only challenge. The dredging can be done up to, according to the 1997 study that was done by Port Consult, it had identified that 4.6 million cubic meters of sand need to be removed to achieve a depth of 10.2 meters at a cost of about 35 million euros. That was then. And it will still not be sufficient, 10.2, but at least it will increase the capacity of the port. But that besides, the Banjul itself, because the port is located within an estuary, there will be perennial need for dredging because the sand gets deposited along the shore with the flow and ebb of the tide. And the fact that also the port cannot expand towards the city because we are surrounded by residential neighborhood and the proximity to the commercial business district in Banjul, our capacity to expand further is constrained. So in as much as these costs can be made to increase the capacity of the port, the long-term sustainability is questionable. And fundamentally also, the climate resilience and adaptation for Banjul has identified a major risk that Banjul might be exposed to sea level rise by up to 1 meter in the year around 2040 or thereabouts. So these are some of the constraints that Banjul is facing.
In the next 15 years? That's not very far away.
Well, according to the predictions, and if you look at the climate change issues now in the forefront now, and in the sustainability of operating the port in Banjul is questionable. It can be possible, but with a huge cost overrun in terms of building structures that will be resilient to some of these climate effects.
And what about how strategic is Sanyang? Because there's no point having Sanyang only for ships to say, well, it's going to cost us a lot more to get to Sanyang. So, that's a disincentive.
Well, Sanyang is along the southern coastline, and it's reachable in terms of the distance that ships have to navigate, closer than Banjul. And then the other thing is that investigations were done since 2008, and up to about minimum 7 locations were investigated, starting from Bijilo up to Khartoum. And Sanyang has been found to be the most ideal. And one of the interesting things that has come out from this study that was carried out by the investor Albarak, it is realized from the satellite images from Google Map that the bay in Sanyang has a natural channel, which would actually reduce the cost of dredging to access the deep water contour. So Sanyang is the closest to access the deep water contour, and it has a vast land for the ancillary support infrastructure. So these are things that the detailed engineering studies would go to confirm.
You just name-checked the investor there, and earlier on you spoke about this being the biggest foreign direct investment in the history of this country. How much money are we talking about?
Well, up to $400 million of investment is envisaged, although the detailed cost would be known after the engineering studies have been carried out and the designs prepared and approved. But according to the commercial proposal that was evaluated, the structures that are supposed to be built during the first phase alone would be nothing less than $280 million. That's for the first phase in Sanyang to have it functional.
Okay, fantastic. Jibu, there's no point asking the rest of the Gambia, to converge on Sanyang at the weekend if the people of Sanyang themselves, haven't bought into this whole idea. How much are the people of Sanyang going to be involved? How much have they embraced this deep seaport project, given the resistance we heard about at the beginning of discussion around the possibility of a deep seaport being located in Sanyang?
There's always resilience to change, Uncle Peter. I was following some of the discussions held here by the VDC chairman and its members, and so many other engagements, because I was privy to be the one talking to most of the people, because my number was shared on a document that was given to landowners in Sanyang. So I received a couple of calls myself. I'm here to say that today, because most of them had reached out to me with regards to their land, where it's located and where the port will be affected. But I can safely say today that after all long negotiations have been done, we've mapped through a lot, and the community have embraced this port right now, noting that they were, through the VDC, were able to identify an area and say, this is where we want the port to be. With careful study and all the technical issues surrounding it, the port we're able to identify a better place for it. So Sanyang had embraced this 100%. The more reason why we said the general public or the Gambia from Khartoum to Koina is because the president, like he said, everyone should be involved as far as the laying of the foundation stone is concerned in Sanyang, because it's a bigger event for everyone and we should all be involved. But Sanyang is gracing the occasion 100%. That I can assure you.
And Jobs, you were more or less in the eye of the storm when people were, criticizing GPA and government over the, negotiations for the land. So what has been, what has changed as far as, the reaction of the locals, people of Sanyang, to this deep seaport project is concerned? Because actually it hasn't taken long to convince them, to buy in to the whole, project.
Well, thankfully, we want to harp on our positive energy and not go back on some of the disagreements that we had initially. But just maybe by way of recapping, a scoping mission was done initially by a consultant that the GPA had appointed. And during that scoping mission, this is where certain areas were earmarked for future development for the Sanyang, the ancillary support infrastructure. Maybe with hindsight, we could have communicated better, because some of the expressions that were made, particularly by myself, is what had caused the consternation and the sleeplessness in the community in Sanyang, when words like from the shoreline to the highway would be earmarked for future development. That did not sit down well. So we had to retract and retrace our steps and accept that there was a miscommunication. And since then, we have realized also that the community in Sanyang, as in the VDC, has some well-accomplished Gambians who have participated in international projects of similar nature. And the fact that those expertise was brought to bear on the table, we were able to successfully have a very fruitful engagement in which they were at least given the opportunity to be in the forefront of deciding where land should be allocated for the support infrastructure. Bear in mind that the port infrastructure is going seaward. It's only the free zone, the special economic zone, and the truck parking, the banking, insurance, and other value-added factories that need to be set up to support the port business that needs to be located on land. So the idea is to synergize on the port activity to develop a zone for economic operations, much like happens in other places, like when beside the Jobateh or near neighbors, Senegal, what they are trying to do around the Jamnajo area to have the economic zone, the airport and the new port of Dayan, in a cluster to create an economic zone. So that's the whole idea why this land was important for this project in Sanyang. But thankfully, since they have been included in all of the activities, in fact, our engagement has been such that we do an informal engagement made with the VDC, who have been very receptive. And after all the groundwork is laid and we agree on certain parameters, we then now communicate officially to map out, the strategy as to the engagement. But as I said earlier, thankfully that we've met a community that are highly engaged and well-accomplished Gambians, and we were able to resolve it in this short period.
You cited some competition there to Banjul Port and this, earmarked deep sea port project. How competitive will Sanyang be?
Well, the main constraint that we have in Banjul will be addressed in terms of our capacity to attract bigger vessels. Bigger vessels will bring more volume, and the unit cost in terms of freight.
Yeah, well, you won't be competing Banjul, you'll be competing Dayan, for instance.
Well,
yes.
I
was watching TV at the weekend, and Abidjan Terminal, they're thinking of, they're massive already, but they're thinking of, even further expanding, and they were lamenting, the availability of land. So,
well, yes, land almost, I think the situation in Banjul is what is prevalent in most coastal ports, particularly in West Africa.
Yeah, we're talking about the competitiveness
well, yes,
of this new Sanyang port. There's no point, putting $400 million into a project that won't take traffic away from Dakar and Dayan, even as far out as Abidjan.
Well, yes, we look at our competitive advantage as a trading nation to transform Gambia into a destination of choice for both trade and tourism, in the sense that most of goods that come into the country find their way to third countries by way of transit, cross-border or re-export trade, because of our proximity to those growth and consumption areas. Yes, it's competition, but our competitive advantage would ensure that we remain relevant. And what we're trying to do in terms of strategy is to utilize the river transport to have logistics platforms in Kabul and particularly in Basse, where if you look at our business, most of the trucks that, these articulated vehicles that come from the southwest regions of Mali, that come to Banjul, they travel about 673 kilometers to pick up cargo in Banjul. Now, if you have a logistics platform in Basse, what it does is it cuts the distance by half. And compared to our immediate neighbor, which is about 1,200 kilometers, so we're closer to those areas. And this is a very interesting growth area, in the sense that Mali is a landlocked country, and fuel alone is a very sensitive cargo. Only 10% of the volume that goes to Senegal, if you can be able to attract that in Banjul, would really mean a lot in terms of our throughput. So we're not looking at competing, but carving out a niche where it would become more efficient. And business naturally goes where there's efficiency in terms of speed and low overall cost. And the fact that we're closer to those distances makes us to really have that opportunity to harness on the potential that this infrastructure would bring to our business.
Fantastic jobs. Thanks very much for coming, Ousman Jobateh, Managing Director of the Gambia Ports Authority. And just finally, Jibo, take us back to the event that we are creating awareness about, and that is the upcoming inauguration or laying of the foundation stone for this deep sea port project in Sanyang.
All right, Peter, like I said, it's going to be on the 5th of this month, or 5th of July rather, on Saturday, Sanyang football field. The foundation stone laying will be done by the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow. So, by and large, we are just calling on every Gambian to grace this occasion, and noting that, like I always say, it's a new era in maritime industry in this country, and we want to restore our glory as the supermarket of West Africa. So Sanyang is the ideal place, and we are starting today.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thanks for coming. So there you have it, on Saturday, where they want as many of us, if not all of us, to converge on Sanyang for this great event. It's Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. We're live on West Coast Radio on Monday, the 30th of June, 2025.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
la jàmm si Wave.
yow Ablaye yow lu tax doo dee dégg lu tax mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis hello xanaa lay waxal
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave at Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Bësal mu fine. Wave, your money is yours.